What's up, y'all? It's your boy Sandy Ravage back again for another video. So today it's just gonna be me right now, just talking about a topic right now that I want to go ahead and talk about right now, because I see a lot of people are really kind of having a lot of conversations on this topic, but they're not really expressing it or doing it in the proper way or context. Not saying what I feel about it is like factual or nothing. I'm just trying to get another conversation and dialogue started. So I'm doing this video because I'm getting ready to do an album review, because one of my good buddies asked me my thoughts on the new Kanye album, Ye. And I'm going to get into that later on today and give y'all my thoughts and opinions on the album. But for now, this is just a quick video where I want to talk about the word classic. And that is a word right now that I feel is so grossly overused in modern hip-hop conversations. Like, it's used in like the worst way possible. Because how I feel is, personally, you can like an album all you want. Like, there are plenty of albums that I will play for the rest of my life and that I've been listening to for years. But just because an album, you really like it, does not mean it is a classic. Like I swear, like, I see people, like, every time something drops, like the day it drops, oh, this is a classic. This is going to be played for years. And yeah, I'm like, yeah, you can play it for years. You yourself can really like it. But that don't mean it's a classic. There are albums that I love to death that I will not call a classic. Like, perfect example, Rhapsody, Layla's Wisdom, phenomenal album. I can't get enough of it. But it ain't a classic. What the thing is, people need to realize is that a classic album doesn't always like have to just resonate with you. A classic album is a lot of times bigger than your opinion. And it's bigger than my opinion, too. What it is a true classic, like, in the truest sense of the word. A classic is something that most times has a profound change on the industry. A profound change on music. And things of that nature going forward. So, saying that, a classic usually falls under these categories. And I'm going to break each one of them down. It goes the fan and critical reception, and then the impact/influence. So let's break each of these ones down. When I say fan and critical reception is when an album drops, the critical acclaim and reception that it receives is actually very important to it. Because if you have an album that comes out and, like, nobody talks about it or anything like that, like the fans, for whatever reason, do not gravitate towards it or really, like, give it any attention, a lot of times critical reception such as high scores, making it on several year ends lists and things of that nature can give an album a chance to survive and kind of be like a placeholder for people to kind of get hip to it at a later point in time. So, when I say critical reception, that's like very important, because there are some albums that don't have a lot of fan talk, but among critical circles in magazine articles, website publications and stuff, it helps establish the name and keep the name going, because one day I'm not going to be alive, and half of us won't either. And years down the road, when an album is watermarked and has a bench place in the industry like that, due to its reception and how it's received like that, that'll hold it up. And the fan reception means just as much, because all the critics in the world can like something, but if the fans ain't gravitating towards it and they're not really messing with it, then it's like it's not really going to travel much and far. Like, not saying that one is initially more important than the other. There has to be a balance of both. Because, for an example, an album that I personally really enjoy is Illmatic. Illmatic, during the time when it was released, wasn't really a hot seller, just being 100. It didn't really sell and move that much, because one of the album's lead singles, what was that Michael Jackson one? Oh, it ain't hard to tell. I don't know why I messed that up. Y'all somebody gonna pull my hip-hop card for that. So, that came out at the same time when TLC came out with their one song, with the Michael Jackson Human Nature song, and Nas wasn't really pushing because he wasn't that big an artist and his name wasn't banking out like that. And people didn't really get hip to Illmatic till It Was Written came out. But the thing is, the overwhelming critical reception and stuff and the things that it received, like from the source and other publications, kind of bookmarked it and kind of kept it there and kept the name and the acclaim of it up. So that's what I'm saying. It's important. You need both equally to solidify something as classic, because most really big hip-hop classics in the genre all have a strong critical and fan reception. Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, for example, like going back Illmatic, most recently Kendrick's to Pimp a Butterfly. So when I say that, both of them are really, really important. Now, critical scores and what critics say isn't always the final touch, but a lot of times people got to remember critics are people who just dedicate their whole lives to listening to music and like studying the art form and things like that. I'm not going to say their opinion matters more than anybody else's, because like in the end of the day, even though I believe that music has a strong objective quality, it's really what it does come down to what you feel and how you like it. Now, like I say, objective is just things that like just kind of just are set in stone, and subjective is how you feel about the music or how it correlates or relates with you. So I'm not saying that my opinion is more important, their opinion is more important, but there are some objective qualities that just go into it. But we'll get into that another time. So then the next point is you want to bring up the impact and influence. Like, how did it change the landscape of the sound or music at the time, and how was it received? Like, how did it make art? How did it change art? So when you look at that, you have to look at how an album changed how artists were making music and how sounds were like redesigned, or new sounds like came into existence because of an album. And that, and you can usually pinpoint stuff like that. Like, for an example, like moving on to some a little more recent, is A$AP Rocky's breakout mixtape, Live Love A$AP, which is credited, like I could break down a lot of reasons why that is a classic mixtape, because that was really one of the first major successes of the SoundCloud app or website or whatever. And that showed that SoundCloud was a viable platform for artists to break out, to get big. And that sound, that airy, atmospheric, kind of smoked out, hazy, kind of drug influence, kind of cloud rap sound, that really stemmed from it. Now, you could argue Space Ghost Perp and some of them cats like Denzel Curry, the Raider Clan, was already on that. But A$AP Rocky is the one that really popularized and solidified it. That mixtape also kind of done away with regionalism. It was like during that time, you could kind of, it was a time in hip hop where you had to, wherever you was from, that was the sound you made. If you was a Southern cat, you was making Southern music. If you was New Yorker, you was doing boom bap, like New York kind of style stuff. You was doing that. But A$AP Rocky's a dude from Harlem who was strongly influenced by Southern music, 3 6 Mafia, like DJ Screw, all kind of stuff like that. And then by him mixing them sounds, that also showed you don't have to stick like strictly to that sound. And then even today, a lot of modern SoundCloud rappers, I'm not using that term in a derogative light, a lot of them, that sound that A$AP did is still like kind of is influential on a lot of their sounds. And A$AP Rocky like pushed it. So that's what I'm saying. And a lot of that you can track back to that first mixtape that dropped. So that changed the way that the sound of music and things were like being made. Those are things you got to take into account. Like when Lauryn Hill came out with her album, the R&B kind of singish style, and the way it infected other genres like reggae, a little bit of R&B, and it inspired so many artists to go for more soulful, sing-songish kind of rap style and stuff. Lauryn Hill kind of kicked that off with that album. So what I'm saying is, whenever you talk about classic, you got to take these things into account. So with that said, that's why I say like the word classic be thrown around too much, because truthfully, in all honesty, in the hip-hop genre, there are very few classics. Like, I honestly would probably say each decade of hip-hop, there is probably like 5 to 10 classic albums per decade. Like, just being brutally honest, because it's very rare that an album comes out and changes something every time. Like, a classic is something that is really monumental and is bigger than, I like it, so it's a classic. If I can play it from front to back, it's a classic. If I like it, it's classic. And I'm like, don't matter. Don't matter if you think it's classic. It don't matter what I think classic. There are some classic albums that people call all the time up and down classic that I don't like or don't care much for. But I can't lie and act like it's not classic, because it is what it is a lot of times. So that's what it comes down to when you're thinking of classic. You have to think about the fan and critical reception. You have to think about how it impacted and influenced the artist and the genre as a whole in hip hop. That's what that's what a lot of times people got to start thinking about, because the word classic just is overthrown, overused. Like, it's like, I get where it comes from, because people say an album has to stand the test of time to be a classic, which I think that's kind of bunk, honestly, because especially when Good Kid, Mad City came out, that challenged everything. That challenged how long something has to stay out to be a classic, which I totally understand, because I don't think that it takes like years and years and years to tell if an album is classic or not, because especially now that we have the internet, the way music is like received now, we can listen to something faster, it can be spread faster, its influences and things like that can be tracked and be viewed in a grander scale. Years ago, you didn't have the internet like you did now, and music was consumed and traveled differently. So you had to literally sit down with an album and wait years and years and stuff at a time to tell if something was really going to impact and make the changes that it made. But now it's like it can happen so much faster now. So it's both a gift and a curse with the internet, because now you can tell things faster, but then at the same note, it gives people like that crappy reason to go ahead and just deem stuff classic like super fast, like an hour after it drops like a classic. And I think like that's totally wrong. But you see, the word classic, like that's because of the way classic was defined, like something that has a lot of quality that holds up over time. But you gotta remember, when that term was coined years ago, like there was no internet. And I'm pretty sure the people who coined the term did not know that the internet was probably ever going to be a thing. And that changed a lot of things with it. So I'm saying, like, when it comes down to classic talks, the test of time argument is losing validity. I feel like some people say the test of time, like it's got to be out this long, to kind of hold back from giving certain artists they probably don't care much for, like use that as a strike against them, so they don't have to get them their props, like because they have whatever reason they feel against an artist or whatever. So yeah, those are just a few of my quick thoughts. Well, it's not really quick because it's like almost a 13-minute video, but I wanted to go ahead and talk about this whole classic debacle, or why people call things a classic so fast, and what really defines a classic. So breaking it down just one more time for you: fan and critical reception, and you got to look at the impact / influence that it had on artists, the sound, and just the whole entire landscape and genre as a whole. Those are things that you got to pay attention to. That's mostly what it comes down to. Like, it doesn't, now a classic doesn't have to have all of that per se. There are very rare cases where it kind of gets past that, but for the most part, that's really what it comes down to. Like, when you just talk about the word classic, like that's really it. And the test of time, you can still use it. I think it is some validity to it, because when something's truly good, it's going to hold up. But it don't take like years and years to tell if something classic or not. Just like Stevie Wonder back when he was making music, people probably wasn't saying like, oh, we got to spend at least like 5 or 6 albums to tell if he's really a great artist or really unique at talent. It does not take an entire day to realize that the sun is out and shining. So I'm not going to say and demonize people who say something got to hold up, but that is just becoming a little less valid and just becoming a little more like an outdated way of determining something's classic status. So those were just my quick thoughts. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and let's get a conversation or some dialogue started. If you like the video, please subscribe, follow me. You can get at me on Twitter. The link is in the bio. I appreciate y'all. Y'all are the best fans ever. Everything expressed on this channel are my opinions and mine alone. My word is not law. I'm just a music fan who just likes talking about music and got a passion for this. But anyway, y'all enjoy that. See y'all later. Kanye review coming soon.